All right, this is big time. So we're going to be covering part two, which again just means another 20 or 30 minutes of watching Clash of Colors, a documentary made in 2012. I had to correct myself about the 1992 LA race riots from the Korean American perspective. What we covered yesterday was a bunch of black, educated faith leaders and councilmen, and there were some whites and Jews and of course Koreans, teachers, sociologists from UC, especially from UCLA. They were saying things such as, "Oh, the after the Watts riots in 1965, when the whites and the Jews left South Central, the Asians started moving in 1970 after the Hart-Celler Act of 1965. This documentary says that the middle class, after the Watts riots, so all of the black middle class of South Central, the teachers, the doctors, the middle class, the tax base of the black community left. And that was a major reason as to why the black community began to destabilize. That's a nice word for die. The black community began to implode on itself. They also say that the black community wasn't appreciative of another group of people from another country coming into their neighborhood and purchasing all the property. So in other words, there was a nice graphic where they said in 1970, the Koreans owned less than 100 stores. And then in 1990, the Koreans owned 7,000 stores. So if we look at it from a zero-sum perspective, 7,000 Korean-owned stores is 7,000 stores the black community cannot own. And all these things are painted as bad for the black community. To me, this paints the perspective of immigration's bad. This to me is a giant anti-immigration movie. Oh, so when the middle class leaves, when all the educated, intelligent people leave a country, the country becomes a shithole. And then when they even say in this documentary that when one group of people is prosperous and they're living with another group, if group A is prosperous, group B will begin to hate group A. That's all said in this documentary. You want to watch it, you can watch it. Anyway, we're going to keep going. Clash of Colors. With my commentary, of course. I was hoping Wicked could jump on. She said maybe Friday, so we can always start over with her.
In 1991, two important videotape news stories polarized the city of Los Angeles. The more famous one the entire world has seen many times over was the Rodney King tape.
Having it on videotape, then it awakened our eyes of all the community. Does this happen all the time?
After all, African Americans and other minorities, Latinos and other groups, particularly in Los Angeles, have been complaining about LAPD for years. Well, here for the first time, really, you had proof positive. You had a picture, you had an image, you had a video.
Not knowing the backstory of the situation of a high-speed car, a married couple from the Highway Patrol who were pursuing them, get help from LAPD. Everybody converges at night.
And the PCP, high on PCP. Why does that always get left the fuck out? Damn, man.
And lack of cooperation to start it.
Anybody who really considers what happened to Rodney King will see that this was a violent felon who was resisting arrest, who was ordered many times to go prone, and anybody who's been arrested, as he has, knows that that's what you do, who threw two 175, 200-pound officers off him in the scuffle.
Right, that's what PCP does.
And I didn't see, and the court didn't see, a single blow that was not mandated as appropriate by the authorities in LA. People have to understand that subduing a very large individual like Rodney King used to be accomplished with a chokehold. It's very hard to bring a violent and huge individual to heel. And this was banned by the liberals on the police commission, which required officers then to use the baton to bring them down.
But in the court trial of People versus Powell, The jury learned that the tape had been edited, showing an incomplete account of the
Wow,
murder.
really? You mean the media lied? No fucking way.
Which later came to haunt the prosecution.
Then they find out that the videotape is edited. They actually knew it. It's a slight editing of the videotape in terms of quantity. I think it gets it down from 81 to 68 seconds. But what it shows, what it omits, is showing that Rodney King charges in the direction of one of the officers, Lawrence Powell, who swings the most blows. The point is
Let's see that again. All right.
that the videotape is edited. They actually knew it. It's a slight editing of the videotape in terms of quantity. I think it gets it down from 81 to 68 seconds. But what it shows, what it omits, is showing that Rodney King charges in the direction of.
So he gets up off the ground and charges at the police officers. So they omitted that part, huh? So they only show you the beating. They don't. Wow. So the media protected the black criminal. Well, that's nothing new.
One of the officers, Lawrence Powell, who swings the most blows. The point is that when you see the abbreviated videotape, what you see is white officers beating a black man for no reason. So all of a sudden, there's a reason.
Furthermore, the trial of the Rodney King case, which should have been held in Los Angeles, was moved to an all-white neighborhood in Ventura County. It was a crucial victory for the defense, but the court's granting of the change of venue was not justified in law or in fact, and doomed the prosecution's case from the beginning. Historically, California courts have routinely denied change of venue requests. Considering the national media coverage the case received, there appeared to be no logical basis for granting the request to change venue.
There didn't seem to be any legal basis for not trying it in Los Angeles. Changes of venue had been routinely dismissed in high publicity, in high profile cases. The judge who upheld this, very good judge named Joan Dempsey Klein, she was concerned, as she told me, about the political situation in Los Angeles. She was concerned that there was going to be an eruption.
Not only that, the case was moved to Simi Valley, which was an all-white bedroom community, for no understandable reason.
I thought that particular trial should not have been in Simi Valley.
I have a
Should-
reason. The O.J. Simpson trial is the reason. What did the woman say? What did the black juror say from O.J. Simpson? She said she let him go because it was revenge for Rodney King. I'm going to look that up while this is playing.
Could have been Oxnard or Ventura, in Riverside or somewhere, and even in Orange County, which has more diversity. Simi Valley happens to be, at the time, to affordable housing, and a lot of city employees, firefighters, police officers were there. It was kind of like their neighborhood, so to speak. So there was some questions. I think the judge who was assigned to the case, which was originally supposed to be downtown here, who lived in the valley, I think he thought it was closer for him to get a courthouse available in Simi Valley as opposed to going someplace else.
They completely changed the jury by this process. They eliminated African Americans from the jury. You got a group of white jurors, middle-class people, people who always stop for the police. They're being shown a videotape of something that they haven't seen before, and they're being shown it by the prosecution. The whole context, which was created by the judiciary, the context of this trial favored the defense.
All right. Pause. 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 Why did they move it to an all-white jury? I think I know why. This is from the O.J. Simpson case.
You think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes,
You do.
yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of us.
90%? Did you feel that way?
Yes.
That was payback.
Uh-huh.
You think that's right?
There. That's my reason why I think they moved it to an all-white place. Because blacks are tribal. It doesn't matter. As we know now, they knew then. Like with Anthony, like with, Trayvon Martin, the drug dealer, Michael Brown committed a strong arm robbery. George Floyd was a home invading, woman beating, putting a gun against a Latino woman. Her name was Araceli Enriquez. Black people cape for black criminals. They knew if they had blacks in that jury, the verdict was going to be not guilty. They knew it then. That's my speculation. And that was my receipt. That was my receipts. She said they set OJ free as revenge. So anyway, back to the documentary.
And all of a sudden in this trial, the prosecutor, not the defense, the prosecutor is playing the whole videotape, which the jurors, all of them, I'm sitting as close to the jurors, and you can see their mouths agape because they'd all seen, I'm sure, as I had, seen this videotape on television. And all of a sudden, they are now seeing something they have never seen before in their lives.
The King verdict was not the only spark of rage for blacks in this city. Last year, black teenager Latasha Harlins was killed by a Korean merchant who had accused.
I'm going to say it right now, right here. Yeah, that's a bad shoot. She wasn't attacking you. She was walking away. So yeah, this woman should be in prison. Now, let me extend the olive branch. If the girl came behind the counter and was trying to attack her and this woman shot her, again, Latasha Harlins is younger, taller, bigger than this like 40-something-year-old Korean woman. Are you seriously going to tell me an African-American girl doesn't have a different bone structure than a Korean woman? If you're that retarded, get out of my chat room. All right. So again, I don't know about LA's castle doctrine, but where I live in castle doctrine, if someone's attacking you, it's reasonably justified. You can use lethal force to defend yourself or a loved one. But this was terrible. She should go to jail for this. She killed this girl. But as you're going to see in the video, she got fucked up too. This girl punched her in the face, I think like 3 times and knocked her down on the ground twice.
Of shoplifting. The Korean woman was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to 5 years probation, a sentence the black community felt to be outrageously lenient.
The jurors, in what was clearly a compromise verdict, reached what I think was the right verdict. They convicted Sun Jadu of voluntary manslaughter. She had intended to do this. Here you have a case where a judge, an inexperienced judge who was really thrown into this trial by senior judges who didn't want to try the case themselves, renders a horrible decision after an arguably just verdict and just adds all these flames to the oil that is burning in Los Angeles.
What resonated most deeply in the black community about that event wasn't so much the incident itself, which was horrible and unfortunate that it had to happen this way. But that, again, it was another event that was videotaped, and the surveillance camera in the store captured it on videotape. And for many in the black community, Sun Jadu got a slap on the wrist for shooting this young black woman.
In the immediate years preceding, 2 or 3, there were 37 Korean store owners who were murdered and reported it all by the media before, during, or after the riot. This was a tragedy, but it was converted by racist black leaders into a war against the Koreans, as the Koreans are murdering black people and getting away with it.
All right. Now, I've never heard that before. So that's something I'm trying to independently look up myself. There were 37 Koreans murdered by blacks. I'm going to impose, maybe Latinos. So that's interesting. I'm currently trying to look up the Latasha Harlins video right now.
She's seeing Latasha Harlins or was she seeing a despised category of people?
Like, so wait a minute now. This girl was shot in cold blood, quote unquote, and nothing's happened here. She gets your hand slapped or something. But that same kind of disdain, that same kind of fervor, disgust, and what have you, that was displayed by black folks back at that time, it was never displayed towards the system that caused the problem in the first place.
So there's no excuse for taking, the life of that child. But look, I mean, to make this the original sin of the Korean community, that was quite a leap.
Interestingly, the LAPD, under intense pressure following the release of the King tape, called an uncharacteristic press conference, which immediately raised more questions.
It's important to consider the timing of the killing of LaTosha Harlins. It occurred 13 days after the beating of Rodney King and less than 24 hours after 4 officers involved in the beating were indicted.
The death of 15-year-old LaTosha Harlins. She was shot in the head by 51-year-old Soon Ja-do, co-owner of the Empire Liquor Market in South Central Los Angeles. The shooting took place Saturday. Police say a security camera shows that the girl was not attempting to steal a bottle of orange juice. The grocer has been charged with murder.
The timing and the hastiness with which the press conference was called immediately raised some questions as to why the police department was going out of their way to air these concerns, which in the past, police department had not really catered.
Had this been any other person, not a Korean storekeeper, but a black storekeeper and a black girl had been killed, nobody would have filed on the black storekeeper.
Whether or not there was any conscious effort to redirect attention, it's difficult to say, but the end result was that a prominent tragedy was called to the attention of the media.
The LA Times and other local...
Let me just say, interesting how, so the conspiracy theory is that the LA police force brought all this attention to this shooting as a way to take blame away from the Rodney King verdict. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try to, there is original footage of the LaTosha Harlins shooting where she's seen punching Soo Yun-do in the face and knocking her down to the ground twice. I'm trying to find the original video. Of course, a year ago, I could find it on YouTube, and now suddenly, it just doesn't exist. I'll keep looking for it. I don't know if I can find it today.
Media then reported the incident as a racial killing.
See, the lead says Korean-born Soon Ja-do. Why the gross Soon Ja-do has to be Korean-born? She's American citizen. Would the LA Times say every time they use Henry Kissinger, German-born Henry Kissinger? No. But that's always they are injecting the race card.
If you read most style guides, LA Times has their own style manual of, what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to write. And, AP has their own style book. And most, broadcast news organizations use either one of those, or they use them in conjunction. When you look up race, it says essentially that you're not supposed to specify the race of an individual in the story unless it's pertinent to the story. Well, obviously, these news people assumed that the race was pertinent to the story.
When a black gangster assaults a Korean, when a black holdup man robs, what you have is a criminal assaulting a businessman. But somehow the ethnic identities would narrow that focus so that it became black on Korean crime.
I know in the initial screenings of that surveillance tape, they showed the entire tape, but as time went on, and
okay.
Somehow the ethnic.
Okay, they have it.
Assume that the race was.
Let's go back.
When a black gangster assaults a Korean, when a black holdup man robs, what you have is a criminal assaulting a businessman. But somehow the ethnic identities.
Now, let me just point out something here.
Assume that the race was pertinent to the story.
When a black gangster assaults a Korean, when a black holdup man robs, what you have is a criminal assaulting a.
Oh, so that's why the Koreans have all that fucking glass there.
Businessman. But somehow the ethnic
Did you see what he's doing here? It looks like he's chambering around. So this is terrible gun ownership. This is another reason I prefer a revolver, like a 357 or 327. When I pull the trigger, bang. This was just in this situation. This guy was one of the luckiest guys in the world. He won the lottery this day. Just him pulling the gun was enough to get this guy out of here. But it looks like he's chambering around here. You need to carry with one in the chamber. That's fucking dumb. And he should have it on his person. He shouldn't have it over here in a fucking drawer. So 2 mistakes this guy made. And am I blaming the victim? Yeah. Yeah, this is terrible. This is terrible gun ownership. So don't do that. On your person, in a holster, and get one in the chamber ready to go. Or if you carry a revolver, it's ready to go.
Identities would.
I mean, good on him for fighting back. That took balls. That could have been killed, and he had balls to do that. But again, what if he had to shoot and the guy shot him first, and he pulled the trigger and it went click and nothing happened? Happens more than you think.
So that it became black on Korean crime.
I know in the initial screenings of
Yeah, see? She hits her twice, knocks her down.
surveillance tape, they showed the entire tape, but
Wow. Look at that. Wow.
Somehow the ethnic identity.
Wow. She launched her.
That focus, so that it became on Korean crime.
But it is black on Korean crime. Look at that.
in the initial
One,
screenings
two.
of that surveillance tape, they showed the entire tape, but
Bam. Look at that. Knocked it down to the ground. Okay. So never mind. We got the video here. Boy, thank God for this. Thank God for this documentary, because like I said, a year ago, you could find this video. Now I can't find this video. Why? We're hiding. It's like the Streisand effect. The more you tell me I'm not allowed to look at something, the more I want to look at it.
as time went on and future references were made to the shooting, there was kind of editing
So see, what?
shorthand that took place, and it was to show the actual, just the moment at which Latasha.
So yeah. So this woman is wrong. This woman is wrong. The black girl, Letitia, stopped hitting her. The counter was enough that all this woman, again, anybody, I'm not there, but again, the way lethal force law works, at least in Pennsylvania, if this is a Castle Doctrine situation in her business, Latasha would have had to jump over the counter and attack her. I think that could justify using the gun, because again, look how this girl hits her. This girl hit her one time and launched her backward like a rag doll. Right? You'll see it. Watch. The third punch.
Screenings
One,
of
two.
that surveillance tape, they showed the entire tape, but
Look at that. Look how see? Now, if Latasha had jumped over the counter and physically got past the counter and attacked Su Yun-tu, and she shot her from behind the counter, that to me, if I'm on the jury, not guilty. If I watch a video of somebody hit you in the face and they knock you backward like a video game, and then they come back behind the counter to finish the job, I don't give a fuck if you're unarmed. The woman's in her 40s. She don't stand a chance on a physical level. That's all bullshit. So, but this was a terrible shoot because it looked like, to me, Latasha was walking away. So this woman has to be blamed for that. I know that's a terrible thing to say, and I hope it never happens to me, and I don't want that to happen to anybody else, because she's probably terrified. When's the last time she got a beating like that? And here's the girl who beat her. And again, this is in an area where they have to have bulletproof glass to deal with blacks. So who knew what she thought was going to happen? But, unfortunately, that's the law.
as time went on And
So at this
future
point, she stopped attacking. So
references were made to the shooting. There was kind of editing shorthand.
so now she has the revolver. She has it in her hand.
Took place, and it was to shoot.
I mean, you could even potentially justify that if she pointed the gun at her and said, "Get the fuck out." And then from that point, it's like, what happens? If Latasha then jumps over the counter and tries to attack her after she has a gun pointed at her, I'm fine with her shooting her. But it's the fact that she's walking away. That's murder. That's not self-defense. That's murder. So that's my take on it. And again, I like what this guy's saying. Oh, the media clipped and only showed the shooting. They didn't show Soo Young-do getting her face punched in.
Show the actual, just the moment at which Latasha was shot, and very clearly shot in
Wow, again, another instance where the media capes for the black person. Fascinating.
the back of the head.
Some blacks see the Koreans as a merchant class that takes advantage of the black community. It didn't help when last year a Korean grocer shot and killed a black teenager, as seen on this surveillance tape.
They just showed the shooting. They didn't show Latasha Harlins punching the woman in the face. And that's, in my view, that's quite calculated by the media.
When the city was in need of political leadership, the leaders failed to lead. Using the Rodney King tape as leverage, Mayor Bradley tried to remove Police Chief Daryl Gates, with whom he had a running feud since his days as a police officer.
Unfortunately, there was a battle between the then chief of police and the then mayor of the city of Los Angeles. There was a communication gap, and I was involved because my boss, the president of the city council, was the one leader in the city who could really get both men together and talk to them in some respects. So it was a very challenging time.
Big stroke of Mayor Bradley was appointing this commission headed by Warren Christopher, who's a very distinguished attorney and subsequently Secretary of State.
The Christopher Commission will deal with the whole range of the problem of police brutality in Los Angeles.
He was mortified, as I say in my book, when he's watching the television soon after he's appointed.
So again, you have the political leaders using a tragedy to their advantage, selling out their people. Nothing new.
And Bradley is giving a news conference, and he's already got the conclusions. He's saying this guy should be fired.
As mayor, I have reluctantly concluded that I can no longer wait for Daryl Gates to do what is best for the LAPD. I can no longer count on him to act in the best interests of all of Los Angeles. That is why today I called upon Daryl Gates to resign.
I have a little difficulty understanding how the mayor would appoint a commission on one day and then preempt that commission on the next day. That doesn't seem to make much sense.
He considered resigning, but of course resigning would have been such a slap in the face that he went through with it.
I would certainly welcome any rapprochement between the two of them that would calm this controversy. It would make it possible for us to do our work in an atmosphere that was not quite so highly charged.
Mayor Bradley at that time was the mayor of the city of Los Angeles. And he had been elected with a coalition of white and African-American voters. That coalition had begun to break down.
Mayor and I disagree. I am convinced that the chief is not the issue. Improving the department, making change in the department is the issue. And the more we focus on the chief, the more we call for his resignation, the more he digs in his heels, the longer it's going to take to get from here to there. I am convinced that calling for the chief's resignation polarizes the city. It does not heal the city.
We will be at the city council tomorrow morning, essentially telling the city council as citizens of Los Angeles how deeply resentful we are of the action they've taken, overturning the decision of the police commission.
Well, I don't think we should be fighting, quite frankly. I've been disappointed with all of this rhetoric that's been going on. I, for the life of me, I don't understand why why so much violent rhetoric aimed in my direction. I understand how concerned people are and how angry they are at what happened in Foothill. I'm as angry as they are.
The chaos or anarchy in City Hall, in a way, reflected the lack of direction in the city in general.
And in the charter, the mayor really had very little control over the police chief, believe it or not. I mean, the police chief in Los Angeles had always historically their own power base.
The city wasn't really polarized on racial lines. The black community polarized the city, which is a little different.
Once again, what that left everybody with was a polarization. You had to either be for the African Americans or against them.
There was a lot of tension on city council, a lot of games going
Wow,
back and
for them
forth.
or against them. That sounds similar to the trans issue today. And we're going to cover one story today of a cuck from Jefferson University in Philadelphia. So Philadelphia is dying too. It's a shame.
Basically, there was a race riot going on in city council. Blacks over here, Latinos over here, the mayor over here, LAPD over here.
On April 29th, 1992, the jury in Simi Valley acquitted the 4 police officers to the surprise of the public, who had been misled by the media to believe the officers would be convicted. When the verdict was announced, the television media, which had already prejudged the outcome based on the incomplete video account of the beating, also sounded outraged.
The 4 police officers who were videotaped repeatedly beating an unarmed man were found not guilty on all but 1 count.
The media had conveniently overlooked the fact that Rodney King had been captured following a dangerous pursuit and had exhibited terrifying strength while resisting arrest.
Yes, it's from the PCP. God, why does everybody leave that out?
The question as to why the media is so irresponsible in this matter is, has to do a lot with American history. I mean, America has committed in its past history one great crime against black people. I mean, blacks were slaves in this country. It's nothing this country actually innovated. In fact, and we inherited slavery from the British, and we led the world along with the British in ending slavery. However, it remains a very grievous stain on American history. And to compensate for this, or to overcompensate, people on the left in this country, who are the people who run the media.
Who's that, Mr. Horowitz?
Exaggerate and bend over backwards, if you will, to protect black criminals, and then to make them appear victims of other people.
When I heard
And according to this documentary, they admit that they didn't show Rodney King charging at the police officers, and they admit they didn't show Latasha Harlins punching Sue Young-do in the face 3 times, the 3rd punch sending her airborne. So I can't say that statement that Horowitz just made is a lie.
Bradley on the radio.
Actually, we're going to save it there. And in more great news about the city I'm from dying. Jefferson University president under fire for liking tweets, questioning COVID vax, calling child sex changes child mutilation. Well, that's what they are. Jazz Jennings. It's not reversible. It's not irreversible. Here, you want my proof? Jazz Jennings was given puberty blocking drugs at the age of 6. How do I know that? When he went to get his neovagina surgery, the surgeon said his penis was the size of a 6-year-old. He didn't have enough penile tissue for a large enough neovagina. What they do now is weak parents and money-hungry doctors per surgery who could make $100,000 per surgery. And now you've created a patient for life. They will need future surgeries. What happened to do no harm? Now they tell boys whose parents fail them that they tell them to wait longer so the penis can get bigger, so then they can perform the neo-vagina. And now Jazz Jennings has problems with the hole closing. And his mom literally was on TV the other day saying, I'm going to stick that thing in your hole and you better do it, because now the mom is in denial that she failed her adopted child. You had a hand in mutilating your son. And now your son is probably going to commit suicide, which I hope that doesn't happen. But The mom is responsible. And she should be in prison. So anyway, another cuck, another loser. Oh, hey, instead of standing up for children, let's keep our job. I know that's easy to say, but Thomas Jefferson University president Mark Tykosinski is under fire after liking a number of tweets from writer Alex Berenson questioning the COVID-19 vaccines and calling child sex changes child mutilation. Go fuck yourself. Chief Executive Officer of Thomas Jefferson University, Joseph G. Cacchione, issued an email to Jefferson faculty, employees, and students on Sunday, saying that Tykosinski was careless in his use of Twitter and that he should have known better. Well, I would go up to this person and say, go fuck yourself. Oh, you don't like it? Then read something else. At his level, he is held to a higher standard and should have known better, Cacchione wrote, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer. Who is this? Oh, so one of his own staff sold him out. One of the nearly 30 tweets in question liked by Tykosinski in the last year was one from Berenson dated December 11th, which read, 2 years after their induction, the mRNA COVID vaccines have proven to be what we all should have expected, another in a long line of overhyped, rushed, profit-driven big pharma flops with weak long-term efficacy and a lousy side effect profile. Correct. Now, what's the newest side effect now? Tinnitus? Hang on. Go to DuckDuckGo because all right, so let's take a sec. Am I here? All right, here we are. All right. So let me just pull this up for 1 second. The latest side effect now. And oh, big time. I don't want to hear from Fox News. All right. Possible links between COVID shots and tinnitus emerge. People have developed life-altering ringing in their ears after COVID vaccinations demand deeper investigation into this potential side effect. Of course, the CDC says tinnitus not linked to COVID. Of course. Wow. So I'll leave that article up. But anyway, let's go back to the pussy faggot. Oh, guys, I'm sorry I like something. You're a grown-ass fucking man. Stand by what you say. Anyway, after tweets liked by Tykosinski was one from Donald Trump Jr. that read, doctors lied and coerced a 13-year-old into an irreversible gender-affirming medical procedure. Now she's fighting back and suing them. Donate here to support the lawsuit and help stop child mutilation. This should be simple. According to the Inquirer of according to the extension of the Democrat National Party, Tykosinski's 530 likes that existed before the initial story regarding the president's like history on his Twitter account and employee backlash was published. 348 remained by the early afternoon. That number dwindled, so he was deleting his likes. Weak. The email from Cacchione, which included a letter of apology from Tykosinski, was issued just 1 day after the Inquirer published their initial story. In his apology, so he cucked. Tykosinski said he does not believe vaccines are harmful, noting that both he and his family member, oh, that's right, I'm a good little boy. I understand that my lack of knowledge on the Twitter platform created questions and unintentionally offended many. Please be assured that this will be a learning experience. And as oh, you're a fag. Tykosinski told the Inquirer that he had liked the tweets to bookmark them and learn more about the subject matter or the particular viewpoint. He said he did not endorse the tweets. Oh my God. I regret my lack of understanding of how liking a tweet is an implied endorsement. I also regret how my lack of understanding of the Twitter platform caused some to question my views on these complex issues. Associate Professor of Communication and Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies at the University of Penn, Jessa Lingle. Wow, women's studies. So a stupid fucking degree. Wow, so people who major in women's studies have to get a job at Starbucks after college. Yes, I really give a fuck what a dumb bitch like you thinks. With Ty Kaczynski's response to the Inquirer when asked if he thought child sex changes were child mutilation, they are. Lingle said that Ty Kaczynski should have been a simple no. Oh, well, thank you for telling me what to think. Do I need to go to a re-education camp too? But he instead told the Inquirer, this is not my clinical area of expertise. In general, any issue involving children should be referred to clinical experts at children's hospitals who offer the full complement of services necessary. Lingle said, so he did a medical appeal to authority, and she's saying, you shouldn't need specialized understanding in pediatric care to recognize the it's okay to cut off body parts of children. Yeah, fuck you, Lingle. Jefferson spokesperson Angela D. Scholl said the incident will serve as a teaching moment regarding, oh my God, you're such a bitch. Ty Kaczynski is a molecular immunologist and academic leader who graduated from Yale and was elevated from provost to president. He has worked at Jefferson for 16 years and reports to Cacchione. So academic freedom is dead. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Bro, you're going to go down. You might as well go down with the middle finger up in the air. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck? Oh, I offended the women's studies professor? Fuck you, cunt. Go sit and twist. Anyway, I'm big time.